So then I want to talk about trading up to and down from the lottery, right? These are teams that are outside of the lottery going in and inside of the lottery going out. And there are 10 years of evidence. First year, again, you're going to see that this kind of continues throughout time. It's much more consistent than what we talked about with trading into the top 5 from out of the top 5. But let's go. 2002. This is one that Knicks fans probably do not want to remember, those who are old enough to remember it. It was 7 and Marcus Camby and Mark Jackson for 25, Antonio McDyess, and a future second-round pick.
How can we forget?
Yeah. John, would you rather have the package that went out or the package that came in? Very easy question.
I would much rather have Nene and Marcus Camby and Mark Jackson.
Yes. Yep. 2003 was 13 and 27 for 16 and 20. I believe that was the Celtics and the Grizzlies.
I'm trying to think of the players who were involved in that transaction, and I am struggling.
Yeah, usually I would include the players next to it, but this
none of them were notable.
Yeah, it's kind of the way it was. 2006, 13 for 16, future second, and cash. These are more just the types of deals. We don't have to necessarily focus on each one, like how they turned out, but there's some that I do remember here. 2010, 11, and Morris Peterson for 21 and 26.
That was a Cole Aldridge trade, if I recall.
That's here. Yes.
There we go.
There. Yep. 2011 was 7, which was Bismack Biyombo and Corey Maggette. This was a 3-team deal, but this is basically like what the Hornets and Bucks got out of it. So the Hornets the Bobcats. Bobcats had 7 and Maggette. And then the Bucks walked away with the 19th pick, which was Tobias Harris, Steven Jackson, and Sean Livingston.
Not bad.
Nope. 2013, I believe it was 13 for 16 and 2 seconds, 2 future seconds. I think that was Kelly Olynyk for Lucas Nogueira. Yeah. 2014.
Oh, no. Kelly. Yeah. Sorry. Olynyk.
This was the Cole Aldridge one, 2014. The 11th pick for the 16th and 19th and a second round pick.
Are you sure? That was the Cole Aldridge and not.
Wait, no. Sorry.
I think I know my Cole Aldridge trades.
No, you know what? Was it 2000? No, Cole Aldridge.
I think this is. Are you talking about the Elf trade here?
No, I'm not. That was
okay. Or is this the Dougie McDermott trade?
This was the Dougie McDermott trade.
This is the Dougie McDermott trade. So I'm right.
Yes.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yes, please go.
This is the Dougie McDermott trade, though.
Okay, the 2013 one. Right? The 2013 was the Dougie McDermott?
Yeah, 2014. 2014 was 11 for 16 and 19 and a second. Yeah.
Yes. 2017 was 10 for 15 and 20. This was orchestrated by Scott Perry's administration. It was Zach Collins. The pick that became Zach Collins for Justin
Jackson and Harry Giles.
Yes. That was that. And then 13 for 24 and Trey Lyles, which was, as we all know, the Donovan Mitchell. For the 24th pick, Trey Lyles.
Cole Aldridge was the 2010 trade, by the way.
He was. Okay. Got it.
They just had to get their hands on some Cole Aldridge.
Had to do it.
And who could blame them?
Yeah. 2018 was the 10th pick, which was Mikal Bridges for the 16th pick, which is Zaire Smith. And a protected first.
Which ended up becoming Landry Shamet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the 2021 draft was, as mentioned earlier, 10 and 40, Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, 10 being Zaire Williams, and a protected 2022 first for 17, which was Trey Murphy III, 51, and Jonas Valanciunas.
Okay.
So just something to consider, where if you are trading down from 11, if you're not trading for an established player, then the furthest you're probably going is like 16. And I know that a lot of fans might think like, oh, you could keep going with your pick. And there's a cutoff point, as illustrated in the draft pick value, as illustrated just generally speaking. Yes, you could find talent later, but there should be a point where got to go back to quality is greater than quantity. So if you can get quality at, say, 16 and quantity, beautiful. But you can't keep pushing your luck if you've only got the one pick.
The one thing that none of these trades have, and perhaps it is instructive, is 11 for a future first or a future lightly protected first. Like the closest we get is the 2018 trade, where it's 10. What's that? Yeah.
20, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's more recent.
Yeah. But again, those are protected firsts. And I'm fairly certain the protections on those picks are pretty heavy. Like there is not a chance that those picks are going to be like the first pick in the draft, or if there is, very, very slim chance. So if the Knicks are just like, we don't like anyone at 11 and we don't want to add another young player to this team, but we also don't want to bring on Malcolm Brogdon. And like, that's what we get from this. You have to still find a team willing to, give you a future asset that's like makes it worth your while, unless you're going to do the type of trade that Jeremy has very well laid out here, which is like, we're going to trade down 4 or 5 or 6 spots and then pick up, whether it's a future heavily protected first or a couple of seconds or like whatever the case may be.
Right. Yeah. It's protected first. That's what you're looking for, especially if you're going from the 11th pick out of the lottery. And I think the rationale for that too is the lottery yields better talent than the 15th or 16th picks typically do. Yeah, you could get at 15 your Giannis Antetokounmpos, your Kawhi Leonards, but typically speaking, the talent that's there, you're going to want to get at 11. It's up to the team that's trading up to say, the buck stops with us. We want the player that we could get later at 11, so no one else bids for him.
And again, you look at, there are teams in the league that have stockpiled future draft assets. It's the Pelicans. It's the obviously it's the Thunder. If you want to throw the Rockets in there, like the Rockets got some stuff, obviously in the Harden deal. Those are teams that already have high picks and that already have a lot of players on their roster. And like, they're not just willy-nilly giving away one of their juicy future draft assets to trade for the 11th pick. Like that's probably not going to happen. So, the Knicks are going to be left with some, I don't know, less than exciting options. Is it fair to say?
Yeah. I think so. So trading down non-lottery teams, there are 16 draft picks. Let's go through them. The Hawks picking at 16th. Don't really see much of a deal between these two teams happening. The Hawks are also in a similar position where they are looking for better talent.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're a little trepidatious about paying DeAndre Hunter. Maybe they're looking to consolidate and get a player like Rudy Gobert. I'm not sure. And also, here's the thing though, if you're the Hawks, are you trading 16 and the protected first that the Knicks just traded you back to the Knicks to move up to 11 to maybe take a player there or trade it? Doubtful, right? But this is, again, like, we're going to go through the other teams, but we've hit our cutoff point where at a certain point, you don't keep dropping. If you can get another first round pick, this is pretty much why we're still doing it. If for some reason the Knicks did get another first round pick in this draft, how they would go about and looking at the other teams who are trading back down from there, trading elsewhere. So we can kind of proceed, but with a little bit of Gallo and 16 for Julius 11, and the Hawks have to throw in let's see here, next year's a 2024 top 10 protected first. There you go. But again, it's using the 11th pick as a way to get off money that might be not great, but also the Knicks are going to hold Randall in higher esteem than that. So
you would think they would.
Yes, you'd hope so, honestly. The Rockets, again, like, I know people are going to say Christian Wood. I feel like we've talked enough about centers, and like, I don't really want to go from 11 and like, here's what it is, right? It's 11 and Nerlens for 17 Christian Wood. And I'm sure there are fans that jump to that.
I actually think that would be, again, putting aside the conversation that we had recently about like how the Knicks want to use their centers and this, that, and the other thing. Value wise, it's, you know what? Then again, though, Wood's expiring.
Got to pay him. You're not trading for him so he can walk.
You got to pay him, and he is almost. I mean, who knows? Probably not going to extend on the current contract because he's going to be limited to a figure that I would imagine he thinks he could exceed on the open market in 2023 because he's limited to just 20% raise from his current contract, which is not a lot of money. It's like $14 million, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Literally, it's $14 million.
The other thing to consider with Christian Wood,
I'm actually like thinking about this.
Well, but also let's look more at the less about like the GMing of it and more the human level, where he showed really low effort. A lot of different places. He refused to go into a game at halftime. And after halftime, like with this is why the draft for me, I respect the hell out of the people who put the time and the effort into evaluating on the court. It's a tremendous amount of work, and they deserve all of the success and praise that comes with it. The challenge is, and it's similar to the NBA, the players that are currently in the NBA, but a little less because they're younger, they have more time to develop, there's less known about them in terms of like their demeanor, who they are as people, their motor, what drives them. Like my day job, I work in executive recruiting, and you can come across a phenomenal profile for someone who would be a great job, who do a great job at this, CEO, whatever role it might be. And then you find out that the person's just not good at all. They've got great credentials, but they're missing something. They're not good candidates. And that kind of gets reflected in how I view it with prospects and the difference there with them, but still similarities of these other players. If someone like Christian Wood has a reputation that seems to follow him from place to place, maybe you pump the brakes and you say at the same time, does this team want to invest in that type of player? Maybe. I don't really know, but the reports that we've seen have been somewhat troubling.
The only other thing I will add is Noel as the salary in exchange for Wood misses working by like less than $100,000. So like if the Knicks looked at it like not only are we getting Christian Wood, but we're offloading Nerlens, or for that matter, Kemba Walker, both of those guys, the salary doesn't work. So the Knicks would, you'd be talking about throwing in, I guess, a McBride probably. Well, yeah,
no. What you would do is you would wait until after the moratoria, or like, in free agency, sign the player and then you trade them later. And then their salaries are.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That would make sense.
But it's a little bit more like it happens, but it's a little bit more convoluted to kind of consummate that trade.
So I guess it could, but there's not a waiting period. It's for you to do it after you sign the players.
Yeah. It's like 30 days after. That was the Wiggins.
Yes.
Kevin Love.
Because you need the salary. Okay. So I guess that wouldn't get in the way. Oh man, I don't know. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I hear you. But again, we're getting lower and lower in terms of value.
Yeah, I know.
The Bulls 18. I don't know what they're giving up.
Don't see it at all.
Doesn't seem like a good fit, especially since they don't really have. They got one. It's the Blazers future first. Like it's protected first, so it's lottery protected for years. So like, is that worth moving down 7 spots? I know people love accumulating picks. To me, I would just take the quality at 11.
And also, are they going to give that pick up? The one thing that I'm going to say, as we are talking about picks in this range, 16, 17, 18, 19, whatever, this might be Ty Washington's range. So if you're, again, someone who has paid attention to the draft boards already, Ty Washington was the starting point guard for the Kentucky Wildcats last year. A school that has had some success producing guards from time to time. He does not profile to be the sort of player that has come in and done very well in the league, but he's solid. He's very solid. He doesn't profile as like a star player, and there are issues there.
19 is the Timberwolves. Like, are we talking 11 and rotation pieces and salary filler for 19 and D'Angelo Russell? The Timberwolves aren't going to go for that. The Knicks probably shouldn't as well. I know people are big fans of D'Angelo Russell. He's not going to be the point guard type that the Knicks are looking for. He's just not someone who drives frequently, finishes.
If they did that deal, my God, I would hate myself so much.
Yeah.
That's one of those ones where it's just like, I put my hands up. I'm done.
Yep. I would agree with that. We skipped 20 because that was a Spurs pick, I want to say.
Yeah.
21, the Nuggets. There's not a whole lot here. Right? Like it's Jokic, Murray. No.
Jokic for Jr. Randall and Fournier. Who says no?
The Knicks, obviously.
2 for 1. They're getting two players.
Aaron Gordon, don't really see him moving in. It's probably not.
No, these guys. This is. And plus, like now, you have to start asking yourself, like, is this really the team that wants to jump up at 11 because they see like the guy that's going to like get them over the top? Maybe, but and again, what are they giving up for that? Right?
Yeah,
don't see
Grizzlies. They have the 22nd pick and the 29th pick.
So that's interesting. That's a little below the value, right?
A lot below the value.
Well, it by
11
itself
for 22 and 29.
22 and 20 and 29, and like this would be in like a future protected first, maybe gets you to 11. But again, why would the Knicks do this? They wouldn't. There's no reason for them to do it. I'm just saying from a valuation perspective, they got a future first, but the Grizzlies don't make those trades.
No. The Brooklyn Nets, not a whole lot for them to work with because most of their rosters free agents. They haven't traded since like 84.
Nope.
Just
not going to happen.
Milwaukee Bucks, 24.
Grayson Allen salary dump?
Yeah, but then you'd think like if it were 11 and Grayson Allen salary dump for, if the Knicks had a pick in the teens and a better player, like that's the type of move. Like 20, like if we're talking about 11 for 24, there's nothing that's really of value because they're not trading Giannis, they're not trading Middleton.
No,
it's not.
And they're pick encumbered
right.
As they're really pick encumbered. They're not going to do that.
What would happen is they'd have to pick 24th and then they trade the pick afterwards. That's to avoid the Stepien rule, which is not back-to-back picks. That's not allowed. It's back-to-back future picks. But then picking 24th, that pick would be categorized as in the past, and then you could trade it.
They're not trading with the Bucks.
No. 25 was also the Spurs. 26, the Dallas Mavericks. I don't know what's here. Again, you can't really do this Jalen Brunson sign-and trade because it would be tampering, and you probably can't agree to it beforehand. So
no, nope,
doesn't really help you. Yeah, now you could always do it after the draft, but there would have to be enough communication between the teams to feel comfortable. And then,
and given the reporting that we've already heard about how the Mavericks may be a less than willing party to engage in any sign and trade discussions, let alone under the table sign and trade discussions before the fact that could get them like dock the draft pick.
Well, they're posturing, but yes.
Yeah, no, I know they are, but I don't see this being the let's break the rules and work this out ahead of time team.
27, the Miami Heat. No, Pat Riley will never trade with the Knicks. It's not going to happen.
I don't know, man. That Duncan Robinson salary.
Oh my God.
It's very big, very large.
Yeah. They should just dump 27 with that salary to some team. Might do them some good. 28, Golden State Warriors. This is actually our last one because 29 is the Grizzlies and 30 is the Thunder. Nothing really here, right? Like I know some folks are going to say, what about 11 for Wiseman? Do you really want to trade 4 years of team control of the 11th pick for a center who's halfway through his rookie contract with knee injuries?
What do you think James Wiseman's trade value is right now? Like, what could he get? Like, I'm asking because I have no idea.
Well, it's so theoretical what he can provide, isn't it? At least
like
at
if
NBA level.
I'm just looking at teams here. If the Hornets called up Golden State,
that's certainly like
we'll give you 13.
13, maybe I could see it. Something like that.
13 for the guy that you took above 15, LaMelo Ball probably 2 years
15.
ago.
Yeah, but then it's right. At what point do the Warriors just kind of say it's a sunk cost, but we have to wipe our hands clean? Do they? Because they could go into next year being like, well, we've solved our center position between him and Draymond and Kevon Looney re-signing. I just don't think they would sell that low. And they're fine paying money, although they might move Andrew Wiggins.
Man, they draft well, the Warriors, typically. Not always. Typically.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So that's the trading down factor. Let's talk about trading out. You had talked about this, and I wanted to clarify. I looked at the teams since 2000, all of them, all of the lottery teams that traded out of their pick, and there is only one. It is the 2004 Phoenix Suns. Yes, the Phoenix Suns traded the 7th overall pick, which was Luol Deng, for Jackson Roman, $3 million in cash. Shout out. Cash considerations.
Robert Sarver owned them then, right?
You might have. I actually not sure, but
I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
Very possible. And a 2005 first round pick. That 2005 first round pick was the 21st overall pick.
Oh my God.
Nate Robinson, which was then traded with Quentin Richardson to the Knicks for Kurt Thomas cash and the draft rights to Dijon Thompson. I think it's very safe to say that the Suns screwed up on this deal.
He purchased the team in 2004. I wonder when
in 2004.
I'll look it up right now. Of course, the name of this article referring to him purchasing the team is Having a Blast. Yes, you are, Robert Sarver. You are having a blast owning the Phoenix Suns. Yeah. I'll try to look it up.
Robert Sarver 2004 might yield something in the news, but yes, it wasn't a good trade. And there's a reason why, because I know that this was more like focusing on cash and people are thinking that the trading out factor. The reason why trading out sometimes doesn't make sense is because you deal with pick protections now. You don't want to do it at the lottery level, right? Like going into like the end of the season, I also had the thought, well, what if the Knicks took their draft pick and then swapped it out to a team for their pick? Like maybe another team wants that. It just doesn't really happen. It's something that's purely theoretical, except for this one case, which was a really bad example. And if you can find a team that's willing to do an unprotected pick next year, great. But if you are the Suns, would you rather have had Luol Deng or any player that you could have taken 7th overall? Or would you rather have waited a year and let it be the 21st pick? Like, was the cash really that important to anyone other than Robert Sarver?
Well, this was
Jackson Roman certainly wasn't.
So he bought the team in April of 2004. I am now looking up. Was this the Suns' first official move after Robert Sarver had acquired the team? If
the financing went through, then yes, it was. And if so, what a way to put your mark on the team. Trading for a player, right? 3 questions. Is this player a star? Is the price worthwhile? Is the player on a similar timeline as New York's core?
These are the intelligent questions to ask that we hope the Knicks are asking.
Mm-hmm.
Just throw that out there.
Yeah. Like, again, we've talked about stars, availability. I just don't see now being the right time for them to do it. If an opportunity presents itself, then you can reassess. The price, like, I know the idea of Malcolm Brogdon and 11 and salary filler. Like, to me, that's treating an asset as a depressed or a depreciating one. You shouldn't do that. If you're betting on upside, that is the wrong move to make. If there's a legitimate player who's young, like, I'm not saying Cam Reddish, obviously, but like someone in that position who's better than Cam Reddish, that's where you make the type of move. But other than that, it's just like, well, why? What are you really doing here?
So, like I mentioned DeJounte Murray before. DeJounte Murray is too good for the 11th pick. Putting aside the fact that the Spurs already have 3 first-round picks. But like...
Can we use the Spurs as an example? Because there's a player I have in mind that basically for the hell of it.
Sure, yeah.
Like Kendall Johnson, right?
No, it's not. It's Key. Oh my God! Now you're making me forget the guy's damn name.
On the Spurs,
it's not. Is it Kendall?
It's not Keyshawn Johnson.
No, I. Thank you, Andrew. Andrew, you have to leave all of this in because this is again exceptional podcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not. Well, let's go with Kendall for a minute.
Do we need to give it a second for Google to load?
This is what happens when you go past the 2-hour mark of podcasting. You forget Keldon Johnson.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Is that what you said?
I said Keldon Johnson.
You did?
Yes. Can we use the Spurs as an example? Because there's a player I have in mind that basically for the hell of it.
Sure. Yeah.
Like Kendall Johnson.
I'll take your word for it.
All right. Like if that's the sort of thing where you see a player who is on his rookie contract, can fill in right away. If you're going over the salary cap because he's in a contract year himself, like that is something that I would understand. Other than that, like you need to convert it into something that's going to be positive moving forward. And if you're betting on the core and the young players, that is the type of thing. Granted, would I do that type of deal? I probably wouldn't. No. But that's an example of...
I was about to say, like, Keldon Johnson is like... If he was like 10% better, you could talk me into it for sure. And you know what? Maybe Keldon Johnson's good, and I'm probably not being kind enough to him.
But if you're Keldon Johnson, you're 10% better. The Spurs probably aren't trading you, and the Spurs probably aren't trading him anyway because for all these reasons. But like as an example of a type of player, like DeAndre Hunter is not the type of player you want, but the archetype wise, the contract, the value, like all these things, it's not him, but it's someone like him who's not DeAndre Hunter.
I'll give you another player who, again, I don't want the Knicks to trade the 11th pick for this player, but from a valuation perspective, I could see actually people vehemently disagreeing about this in both directions, which probably, well, maybe makes it a fair trade, is Cole Anthony.
Again, what is he doing things that the Knicks really like? Yeah, he's slashing. Is he pulling up?
He's being inefficient from all over the court. Right.
Like we already have RJ,
which they seem to love because they draft these guys like it's their fucking business.
Yeah, exactly. I hear what you're saying. I just don't think it would be here. But yes, that type of player, someone who's on his
like second,
contract. He's
finished his second year. He has 2 more years of team control. Like, puts up numbers. Is he changing your life if you're Orlando? No. Like that sort of guy. And I don't want the Knicks to do that. I'm not even saying Cole is bad. He, you know what? He probably has some upside. Like if you told me Cole Anthony was going to make an all-star team one day, I'd be like, okay, maybe. I guess I see it. I don't think it's smart business or not smart. It's just not smart team building.
Right. And then there's staying put. I mean, most teams.
Great picture, Jeremy.
Thank you. Most teams don't move in the draft. They kind of stay where they're at. But the front office has shown interest in moving up and down. But granted, the highest pick they had, Obi Toppin, 8th overall, they stayed put. They didn't need to trade up because he fell into their laps. They didn't want to trade down because they wanted Obi instead. I'm sure there were potential offers of, hey, we'll give you this and that for 8. And the Knicks probably said, no, we'll take the quality that is Obi Toppin over the quantity you're offering. Who knows if it was the right decision just in terms of what was offered, but it's kind of where they stood.
Are we making predictions?
We can. I figured we would, but I'll just run through the conclusions very quickly.
Yeah.
The Knicks are an enigma, like they don't do things with chalk. Maybe this is the year they do. Maybe we're so accustomed to them doing wilder shit that we're like, oh, maybe they'll finally, maybe they'll keep doing that. Maybe they just stay as is. Best player available, right? But you have to incorporate fit in some capacity. It doesn't have to be prioritizing it. It's just considering it. Treat the asset like an asset. Like I'm saying, don't attach it to something that's depreciating as a way to get yourself in a better situation. If you want to commit to the younger core, find a player that can help them better than they are right now, or as well as that 11th pick might be. Embrace the youth, still if you can make this a young team that shows effort on a nightly basis by just taking some, this is more of free agency as well, but although it could happen on draft night, taking some of the veterans and finding a way to do something with that so you can then push the younger players up into prominent roles. People will be very happy with the result, whether it's winning or losing. And then finally, hold on. There will be a lot of youthful players. There will come a point where they consolidate not the older players, but also the younger players. Probably won't be this year. Might be next year. I thought one thing that was really interesting, and I'm sure you saw the Berman report with Jakubaitis recently.
Yes, I did.
It seemed like 2023 was a more definitive time, did it not? Before, what we were operating on was in a few years, whatever.
Yeah, no, it seemed that's how he made it out. I mean, who knows?
Right.
If that's actually the case.
If that is the case, it would line up with the idea that goes back to consolidating the younger players, getting a player like Donovan Mitchell in the door, seeing what other stars might be on the market if it's not him, moving through with that, using mid-level exception money to part of it to sign Rokas. But that's the thing. If there's a logjam right now with the youth, it's okay because it can sort itself out in a year, maybe 2 years, but probably a year. But it's not we don't need to go overboard in terms of the picks. I know maybe 2 picks might be too much, but 1 pick, bring them in, develop them in the G League, develop them at the NBA level, do what you can.
Let me first say that I don't think that there is an obvious answer to the question of what I think they're going to do. I agree with you. The most obvious answer is probably just that they're going to stick at 11 and make the pick. It's what I'm expecting right now. I think if they have a chance to jump up and get sharp, and they could use Julius Randle to do that. Again, I know we went through all the reasons why that is very unlikely. I think if there's a chance for them to do that, I think they do it. Other than that, I know the Hornets just sitting there with those 2 picks. I just don't so much. It would need to happen for them to make a trade down that would make sense for them for today, for moving forward. I guess I'll predict that they stay put. I don't feel great about it though.
All right. I'm going to say that they're going to try to move up first. We're going to see reports about it.
Yeah.
Again, take all reports with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Just as always, the Giants just smoke screen their way to getting 2 great players, and they were terrible at smoke screens. They just didn't do it. I mean, this was a guy who was watching film using a Wii remote. So whatever. But in terms of the Knicks, for the sake of diversifying opinions, I'm going to go with that they do call up the Hornets, and it's 11 for 13, and
that's the thing, is there's no obvious end.
Right. That's the problem, because then we get to the 13 and 15. I'm going to stick with the roller coaster of emotions. 11 for 13 and 15. They keep 13, draft the best player available, who hopefully is a wing. And then they trade down from 15 to, whatever number, not so far, but 4, 5, 6, 7 spots, and take an international player and have his draft rights. Although that's the thing, how many international players in the draft that are also worthy of in their minds being taken, started mid/late first round. I don't know, but that's the type of move I would do if it's not just staying put and if it's not moving up.
Yeah, there's nothing obvious.
Yeah.
There's nothing obvious. I think wouldn't it be funny if this is the draft that ends up boring after the last two that were very active, and like people probably maybe didn't anticipate them being as active as they were. And this is, this is the one where everybody's like, well, the Knicks are going to have to do so. I tell you, honestly, let's end here. What's the thing that you don't want them to do, but that you really don't want them to do?
I don't want them to trade the pick for a non-star.
Yeah, I don't. If they trade this for Brogdon, I'm not going to be happy.
No, and I don't want them drafting a center.
And you don't want them drafting. I'd be more forgiving of them drafting a center than I would be.
Yeah, but both would be. There are levels to it, but I would not be happy about. But then again, Walt Perrin gets paid the big bucks because he's better at that than I am, and I respect that.
Than both of us.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you've outdone yourself again. A lot of research in this one, and it shows, and it's awesome. Again, if you just listen to this, it's worth it to hop on the YouTube, and even if you just scroll through to see the visual of all of the trades, like into the top 5, or all of like the trades where you're going from the bottom of the lottery to lower in the draft, just to kind of see everything there at once, so you can really get an idea of like what is and is not possible, and like what it's going to cost. Because like everybody at this time of year has notions, right? We all have notions of this and that, and like, would this team say yes? The reality of this stuff is that like these trades there's a blueprint for anything you want to do, and you're not going to be the one to break the mold in all likelihood. It happens rarely, but not often. So you're kind of left stuck with like, what existing precedent has laid out for you.
We'll actually have a link to the presentation in the info section for the YouTube video.
Yes.
For those who want to see it.
So check that out. Jeremy, anything else before we get out of here?
I think that's all. I think we've taken enough time to dissect this.
Yes.
But yeah.
That is it. As always, thank you for checking out another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. Hope you enjoyed this. We're getting close, man. A month to the draft, like I said. So before you know it, it's the off season is going to be here in full effect, and we will be there with you for every step of the way. As always, if you dig the show, feel free to drop a 5-star rating, leave a review, and of course, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. That helps us out. Until next week, we will talk to you soon. Peace out.